underscore 88. Welcome to all potential new devil pups. Today is Monday the 13th, 2026. So let's have that conversation, everybody. Hoorah, simplify. The devil dog is ready. DD is ready to rock and roll. Let's have that conversation. Where is Nancy Guthrie? My God, it's been over 73 days, or pretty damn close. Unbelievable. And we haven't heard jack from anybody. We haven't heard from Pima County Sheriff's Office. We haven't heard from the FBI. We haven't heard from the family. We haven't heard from anybody, literally. It's a crying shame, no doubt about it. How can you just go off the face of the earth and nobody knows nothing? Not buying that, everybody. Not buying that one bit. There's a lot happening. It's just not a lot is being communicated or conveyed to the American people. Why? I know sometimes some things have to be this way, but many other things do not have to be like that. Good morning, Paige. Good to have you. Hoorah, day 73. I knew it was pretty damn close. No doubt about it. Thank you. Thank you very much and appreciate you being here, Paige. Just the things that are going on right now is just crazy. It's almost like no one knows anything when we damn know that a lot of people have to know what's going on to a certain extent. And the 1.2 million, ain't nobody seems like they're interested in the money. I still think it was about the money. I still think it was the ransom, but it's like no one cares. Either that or things went crazily wrong, and in order to get what they really wanted, it was going to take a lot of exposure, and they did not want to take the chance because Nancy had become unalive. I mean, who wants to be associated with that on your hands? So that's very probable. No doubt about it. Very, very probable. So they're asking for this little chump change. Half a Bitcoin now. We'll tell you where she's at. We'll tell you who took her, who did this. And then you give us another half a Bitcoin. Now, really? You got to ask yourself, really? That's it? But that's the only way they can keep their distance away from everybody. That's the only way they can literally not become too exposed, right? If they ask for the stars and the moons, my God, everybody's going to know. Or they think everybody will find out. Yeah, right? Kid Pippin gone wrong, no doubt. So no one wants to take that chance. No one wants to be that person that says, I want what I want because things have gotten so crazy that now if you get caught, you are going to jail probably for the rest of your life or pretty damn close. You know what I'm saying, everybody? You know what I'm saying? That's just a fact. That is nothing more than just a fact. The idea to think that you're going to literally put your ass on a sling for any amount of reason, for that freedom to be taken away from you, end up in prison. I don't think these people were calculating that possibility. They were calculating probably that this was going to be a quick one done, make some money and get the hell out. It's way too risky. No doubt about it, Paige. It's way too risky to get caught. I mean, like, I'm going to tell you this right now. Freedom is probably the most important thing we have in life is our freedom. And when someone tries to take it away or you do something to literally lose that freedom, there's nothing, I do mean nothing, worth more than your freedom to get up, to do what you want to do in life. Nothing. Nothing's even close. Many people have lost their freedom and they get it. They know the idea of literally not having those choices anymore for a long period of time or a short period of time. That's crazy. We all know that. That is super crazy. But here's the thing. These person of interest and or perps that did this, that tells me a lot about them, that they don't want to get caught, which means they probably feel like they can't handle literally going to prison because they know it'll probably be a death sentence to them in their mind. And it probably will. I mean, to go from one extreme to the other, that's almost unheard of. Crazy. Crazy. Give me a second, Paige. Hang on. All right. So apparently, these people who committed this heinous crime do not want to go to jail. Just that simple. Gene is in the house. Good to have you, Gene. Hoorah. Gene says, morning. Good morning. I seen a video where the dolly was in Nancy's backyard by her air conditioner, the one that they were saying made tracks in the front. Yes, yes, ma'am. I saw that. I saw that as well. It was one of them kind of weird looking dollies that basically had a long, it had basically four wheels on it, is what it had, yellow in color, and it just sat there in the back. You know, some say that they could have used that and then put it back because it didn't fit in the vehicle that they were taking her in. It's a possibility. Very, very possible. Very possible. So interesting to know that this is probably or could be literally something, and it's still there, right? So that means what? What does that mean that it's still there? That they probably didn't even do fingerprints or DNA checks. Now remember, they had those little mouth lights, right? So every time they took that mouth light and they freed up their hands and then took that out of their mouth and put it in their pocket, they left DNA on their gloves. I wonder, just wonder, if anybody had the forethought to go ahead and do some swabbing on that whole literally. that yellow. I mean, could you imagine that? The idea, did anybody even go to that dolly, the yellow dolly, and, you know, check it all out from top to bottom to make sure it didn't have any bit of DNA? Because when you take that thing out of your mouth, guess what? You may wear gloves. I don't necessarily need your fingerprints. I've got DNA from your mouth, your saliva. Unbelievable. Is it possible that it's still there? You never know. I sure as hell hope somebody really checked it out, because if they didn't, that's a major mistake. No doubt about it. A major mistake. And it seems like this whole case is full of mistakes, unfortunately. No doubt about it. So here's the thing, everybody. Gene had sent me some videos, and Tanya had sent me some videos. And man, I spent all night and day going through these videos, trying to see what I could see. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of things that I learned. A lot of things. And the one thing that really, truly, that kind of like hit me with a ton of bricks, okay, was the fact that it's not affecting my three persons of interest, because my three persons of interest are still in that category. But my third person on my list, TC, really just became more bigger role, if you will, for a better lack of words, a bigger role in this whole mess that's going on. So in the process of listening to other people, once again, FBI agents and people of other criminal networks that are talking about literally, what is going on. Okay. So now getting to the point where we are talking about people in the fashion of, how does he fit in this role? Well, I'll tell you right now, he fits in this role big time now. So there were some things that were pointed out, and I want to give them credit, because I think the thing is um, something like criminal news channel or criminal news. What was that, Gene? Criminal, the news channel or something like that. It's with the gentleman who worked in law enforcement, also as a canine and an investigator, and then his wife worked for the courts and whatnot. News channel, criminal news channel, or something to that effect. But they're the ones that had it, and they're the ones that I really liked the idea, of what was going on. Okay, so let's get into that, because that's very important. So they're talking about when this first happened, going back to the beginning. Yes. So at the beginning, Nancy is getting a phone call. No, I'm sorry. Nancy, well, she probably got a phone call and probably got a text message from the church, because she didn't show up for church, right? So we know that part. Hey, Lady Cat, good to have you. Just going over a little bit of new information, thanks to other devil pups in the station. And here's the thing. So the idea that what happened is that It's crazy. At the very beginning, the church members call to let them know that that Nancy never came for that church, where they watch church on TV, on live. Okay? She never came. We know that. And in that process, in that process, they never came. She never came there. So they waited a little bit, ended up calling their contact, which was Annie. Annie went ahead and came on, and they basically told her they were worried. So Annie came down to the house to see if she could get a hold of her mom. And as she comes out to the house, no one says how her and Tommaso got into the house. You got to think about this because this is good. Hang on one second. Okay. So now, purposely, Nanos doesn't tell everybody literally how he left out how Annie and Tommaso came into the house. But they went in the house and they literally were looking for Nancy. We all know that, right? So all of a sudden, they notice that the back doors are propped open. The gate and the doors propped wide open. And there's plant holders holding it open. Okay? At this point, and this is where I started to hear things that I have never heard before. Tanya is in the house. Good morning, Tanya. And thank you so much for the videos you sent. You and Jean had sent me so many videos that I was able to go ahead and listen and watch them all. And this is what we're talking about, and the new things that I was able to come up with by watching some of these videos that you guys sent me. And I want to say it was like criminal news, the news and the criminal news. Oh, God, criminal newsroom is what it was called, something to that effect. But here's the thing. So what Annie ends up doing, she calls 911. We all thought that she called Savannah right away, but that's not what I heard. What I heard was she called 911. They said our mom is missing, and so they sent a deputy out to that location. Okay? Now when they got there, that deputy got there, it's pretty common to ask the person and I'm going to play this role so you understand. It's pretty common for the deputy or officer to ask the person, "How can I help you? What's going on?" And our mom is gone. We cannot find our mom. She's gone. Okay. So there had to be an exchange of communication there as to, you know, did she done this before? Has she not done this before? And I'm going to throw a little bit of my spin in here with what I got from these other individuals because it makes a little bit sense more to me, and I think it'll make sense more to you. So what ended up happening is that literally, they tell her or she tells them, yeah, our mom is missing and we can't find her. Now, at this point, I guarantee you that officer probably asked her if this has ever happened before. Yes, they are looking at that black box. That is correct. And so what happens is that they go ahead and it is almost for sure that once they have this conversation, it is pretty obvious, or we would think it's obvious, that Annie would have told the deputy that the doors were open in the back. So the first thing is, okay, well, did she walk out of here? Does she done this before? That's just common sense, right? No, no, no. Our mom couldn't really walk that well. She had bad legs. She couldn't walk that well. So now all of a sudden, he's going to get on his radio, dispatch, be advised, can you send me a couple other units out here? So all of a sudden, they sent and make contact with one, which is their sheriff, Nanos, and let him advise him of the situation. So then they go ahead and literally, these officers come. And as the officer's probably looking around, right? Because he's probably thinking, well, if she walked outside, she probably fell over a rock, hit her head. Could have been anything, right? She could have fell going into the garage, down the few steps. I mean, it happens. And I'm only telling you this because this has happened before, even in my line of work. Okay? Where you're going looking for somebody because they tell you somebody's missing. So you got to check the garage, got to check around the house, got to check everywhere. Basement if they have it, all the places. Because, you know, they could be hiding somewhere or they could be playing a game if it's a child. In this case, it wasn't a child. But my point is, you have to really do that before you really like go full blow as to this, what happened here. She's missing. Yeah. Type of deal. So all of a sudden, literally, at that point, and the officers, the other deputies arrive, they're now looking for Nancy. Probably going around the house, checking all the little areas around the house. Maybe she fell, maybe she stumbled, whatever. But here's the kicker. Annie then calls Savannah. Okay? Now follow me here. It's very important. This is all fact. Annie calls Savannah and tells Savannah. Savannah says hello. Annie says, Mom's missing. Okay? Savannah then says, what do you mean missing? Annie says, she's gone. She goes, she's gone? What do you mean she's gone? She's gone. So then Savannah tells her, call 911. And she says, I did. They're here already. They're looking for Mom. Now think about that for a minute. I did already. They're looking for Mom. Now, Savannah then says, I'm going to go ahead and call the hospital. Oh, then Nancy, or not Nancy, Annie says, that she said, yeah, me and Tommy came in here looking for mom because she didn't show up at the church function, the watching the church services. So we got a call. We came down here. We came in and we noticed the back doors were open, wide open. And then she tells her that they can't find her anywhere. Okay? These are all facts. This is not, some of it was a little bit of my opinion, but most of it is fact. Then all of a sudden, right after that, Savannah says, well, maybe they came and an ambulance came by and had to pick her up because she got hurt and they took her to the hospital. Okay? Makes sense. Then Annie tells her, Savannah says, I'm going to call the hospitals. Okay? And then Annie said, well, I'm going to call too. Follow me? You got to really pay attention to these words. I'm going to call too. Now understand, why would she have told Savannah that that the doors were open and that she was going to call the hospitals too? Did she tell the deputy, when the first deputy that got on the scene first, did she tell him? She had to have told him. Because why would she tell Savannah the doors were open, but then look back and say, well, the doors are open, telling the officer, the deputy, when he asks what's going on, she tells him what they find. She tells him, she has to tell him about the doors, right? That's just unusual. Okay? Now, understand that all that deputy has to do is go ahead, pick up the phone and say, okay, give me a minute. Because I'm sure that Annie told the deputy, I think she was taken by maybe an ambulance if she got hurt. And they may have just forgot to close the doors. Follow me so far. So then all of a sudden, yes, Tanya, right on the money. So then the officer says, oh, hang on a second. He goes ahead, gets his radio, says, hey, dispatch, could you give me with fire, ambulance, and fire? They put him to ambulance and fire. He says, hey, did we have somebody pick up a person from this residence last night, or the last couple of nights? And he says, negative. He says, negative. And then he says, could you check uh, CAD and see if anybody else from the ambulance picked up a person from this residence in the last couple of days? And he says, yeah, hang on a second. And in a matter of seconds, he says, negative. No one's been picked up from there. Now you ask, what's the big deal? Okay? You ask, what's the big deal in this? Well, this is the big deal. Because that is that deputy's responsibility to make those calls. And he's going to know in a matter of seconds, rather than Annie and Savannah calling all the hospitals to see if their mom is there. Buster Brown. You follow me? I hear you, Buster Brown. You follow me? Think about that. Think about it. The officer is going to call and check with fire and ambulance to see if anybody came out there. It's going to take him seconds. Okay? She literally, it's going to take that deputy seconds to find out if anybody picked up anybody from that residence. And then he tells CAD, could you check that also, please? And they check it on CAD and find out, no one got picked up. So here's the problem. If you're missing it, here's what you're missing. Annie knew, she had to have known that no one picked her mom up because that deputy had to do his job. Now, it's possible the deputy didn't do the calling on his radio to ask these questions, but then that, in essence, as it was reported earlier, that would be negligence on his part for not doing his job, right? Because in these type of things, you cannot wait a long time before you can't wait. Any extra minutes that are wasted is minutes lost. So rather than them calling all these people, these hospitals, he's going to find out like that. This is what happened. Nope, no one came up here. When I heard this part, this blew my mind. They said that Annie didn't call Savannah for 2 hours. Think about that for a minute. So they got there. They're looking for their mom. They can't find their mom. Tommy, Tommaso, and Annie don't know where the mom is. They call the cops. They reported 911. Deputy shows up. They call the cops. Deputy shows up. They still haven't called Savannah. They didn't call her up until 2 hours. 2 hours is when they call her. So if they didn't call Savannah for 2 hours, why didn't they call Savannah right away? Because it all seemed like that's what they did. It seemed like everything that was being put out there was Annie got there, couldn't find her mom. She called Savannah and tells Savannah what's going on. But we find out later it was 2 hours past before Annie went ahead and called Savannah. That is very important, people. Because by then she would have already known that there was no ambulance came to the house. The officer would have told her there is no ambulance that came here last night or the night before. There is no CAD of an ambulance coming here picking up your mom. She would have already known that. So then you ask the question, well, then why did she tell Savannah when Savannah said, well, I'm going to call the hospitals? Why didn't she tell Savannah? They already did. They already called all the hospitals. Mom's not here. She's gone. You follow me? Let me read some of these here real quick here. I know Buster came in here, so let me go ahead and read some of Buster's comments here. Buster, I'm so pissed. These streamers are only in it for the money just to switch gears without telling people. Tanya, they can even go back in time and tell them of any calls in that house. That is correct. That is very correct. In a matter of 30 seconds, they could tell them if they ever showed up there in the past. Buster says they're lying. Be a little bit more specific, Buster, as in who are they? They are lying. Deborah said hi. How you doing, Deborah? Welcome in. Buster says Nanos didn't know anything until the evening. Correct. Correct. He didn't know anything until the evening. That is correct. But the deputies responded there. The deputy, the first person on the scene, responded there somewhere about 11:40 or so, or 9:30 or something to that effect, is when they first found out when Annie and Tommaso went there to see if they could find the mom. But you're right. Nanos didn't know anything. Tanya says, I heard that too. She was trying to come up with a story. That's what I'm saying, Tanya. The idea that you're not going to tell your sister, who you called 2 hours later, because it made it seem like she called right away, but you're not going to tell your sister, hey, sis, don't worry about calling the hospitals. They already did. Mom never got picked up from a hospital or from an ambulance. You follow me? So then Carol's in the house. Good morning, Carol. It is very interesting, Paige. Very interesting. Buster Brown, they're all guilty. Well, they all have not done certain things that could have made all the difference in the world. That we do know. That we do know. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. Okay? That they didn't do everything they needed to do. But I still go back, and I don't want to miss over this. How and why did Annie not tell Savannah, sis, don't call the hospitals? Instead, she tells Savannah, I'm going to call too. Well, why in the hell are you going to call? You already know they called and they checked, and there's nobody picked up your mom at this residence. You follow me? It makes no sense. Unless, like Tanya said, maybe they were trying to come up with a story. Buster says, I don't believe a word Savannah says either. And that's fine, Buster. My point here is, why did Annie not tell, literally, why did Annie not tell her mom or tell Savannah, sis, they already called the hospitals. They already asked all the hospitals. They already called them. The deputy already called them. Why didn't she say that? Instead, she's going to say, I'm going to call too. For what? You already know that they're not there. Lisa says, Buster, we have 3 suspects, LD, Lopez, and TC. Absolutely. That is still the 3. And now even more for TC, because this doesn't make any bit of sense. Buster, but then Savannah called Mark Kelly before went public. They're lying. I understand what you're saying, and I understand they called Mark Kelly. I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. But my point is, you have to go back to the beginning, how this all started from the beginning. Okay? Yeah, she did call Mark Kelly. But when did she call Mark Kelly? Because as soon as she found out about it was 2 hours later, after the cops were already there. Okay? And that's important, because if she called 2 hours later when the cops were already there, because she told Savannah, they've already went ahead. They've already called the ambulances. They've already done this. So if they've already done this, why in fact, literally, is she going to tell Savannah 2 hours later, hey sis, they have already called the cops, or they already called and checked, there was no ambulance here. Instead, she says, I'm going to call too. Well, they already told you. What the hell are you calling? What are you doing? What are you saying? You understand what I'm saying? Is it making sense to what I'm saying? Lisa says, I believe people easily. Buster says, Paige, I don't. And that's good, Buster. That's fine. Lisa says, I'm going to an appointment. So thank you, dog, in chat. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Paige. We'll be here hopefully when you get back. Tanya says siblings can tell when you're talking out your ass. No doubt. No doubt. Because your mouth knows better. That is fact. Buster, Savannah is trying to hide the fact that she talked to Mark Kelly. He has a role in this. On that role, give me 1 second. Let's talk about that role. Hang on, Buster. Okay, Buster. Tell me what is that you think, or why you're adamant that Kelly knew when Savannah had called him. We all know Savannah did call him. But tell me why, like, why was he involved? Like, give me your reasoning so I can understand a little better, if you could, please. Savannah is trying to hide the fact that she called Mark Kelly. He has a role in this. Well, what role does he really have? He's not a cop. He's not an investigator. So, like, what role does he have? That's why Savannah's saying she found out last. Okay, but once again, still, what role does he have in this? What role does he have other than Savannah called him? It was already public. Yes. So it was already public. It wasn't public. It was just she had just told Mark Kelly. She didn't tell the whole world. She told Mark Kelly. So I'm not sure. Like I guess I'm not sure where you're going with this, and I'm trying to make sense of it. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't understand how that plays a role with Kelly, other than Savannah called him and told him what was going on. So the public didn't know, just Kelly knew. Gene says, hit that like, everyone. Do me that favor. Subscribe. Do me that favor, everybody. Thank you, Gene. Carol says, when was the last time Nancy was seen? And I don't think Nancy's friends would have called her the family. And why is Cameron living in Tucson and he was staying at the house? Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, Carol. So Carol says, when was the last time Nancy was seen? Well, that was apparently when Tommaso took her home at approximately 9:40, 40-ish, 9:50 at night, Saturday night, on the 31st. That's when the last person saw her was TC, Tommaso Ciccione. And then you say, I don't think Nancy's friend would have called the family and why is Cam? Well, I think Nancy's friends. I think that's very plausible because they already said they did. That her friends, who she watches church with on a constant basis, okay, every week they watch church ever since together ever since COVID, that's what they started to do. So it was a weekly thing that they would do every week. So yeah, I think they would have a contact number to call Annie because Annie lived there to tell her, hey, your mom never showed up here. And that's been reported. I don't think that's kind of strange. And Cameron is living in Tucson and he was staying in the house. Yeah, he was staying in the East Coast. He had come down here. I think it was, what was it? Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, or wherever, somewhere up northeast is where he was staying. But he came down here when all this was going on. So I don't know where exactly he's living, if he's actually living there permanently, or he's just there because, like anything, you have to tie up all these ends, right? Would make sense to me. It it does to me. Savannah must have missed the news that day when Mark Kelly made those statements. But I mean, I don't understand. But I get what you're saying, Buster. What I don't understand is, I mean, like, what's the what's the big there burger? I guess is what I'm trying to say, or ask. What is? I mean, okay, so she called Kelly. Obviously, she's probably interviewed Kelly many times. They're probably Kelly is probably a person who's in her district, one what I would consider one of her constituents. So she probably called him thinking that he may be able to help in any way, shape, or form. That's just a guess. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. But it would make sense if they're friends and they know each other that she's going to call him and let him know what just happened. I don't think that's really strange, to be honest, in my opinion. This is a cover up. Well, it can very well could be a cover up. It very well could be a cover up. Very well could be a cover up. But the question then becomes, who's covering it up? Who's doing the covering up? Is it, because that's really what you want to really find out, right? Who did this? So if you're going to say it's a cover up, then who covered it up? The only person that had point of contact from the very beginning who was setting the narrative was Annie and Tommaso. So I guess my next question would be then, like, what's the gain here? I'm not sure I follow that. Explain that. I mean, do you guys understand what I'm asking? Do you guys, everybody else in the chat, do you guys know what I'm asking? Because I don't want to confuse anybody. Buster, I get it. You feel that there's a cover up, and I'm not saying there's not. I don't know enough right now with just the information we have to be able to make that assessment. I'm just giving you what I know as law enforcement, how things work. That's what I'm giving you. Kelly is above nanos. Kelly is not above nanos. That I can tell you, Buster. Kelly's not above nanos. Kelly is a senator. Okay, nanos has a lot of power as a sheriff. They have a lot of power. I know that for a fact. I know how it works. They have a lot of power. Kelly can't go make no arrest to anybody. Kelly can't do the things that the nanos can. Okay, I get it. I mean, I have nothing against Kelly, but he does not have the same power, or he's above nanos. That's not. That's. I mean, that's just not logical. Technically, the last real person to see her say I dropped her off was the Uber driver. Well, not necessarily, Tanya, because technically the last person to see her was the person who claimed he dropped her off at the house, which was Tommaso Cioni, right? Tommaso Cioni said I dropped her off, so he was technically the last person to see her other than the person who took her. I would think. The Uber driver saw her when he dropped her off, but in his own words, Tommaso is the one who said that he took her home. So that makes him the last person other than the perps who snatched her up, in my opinion. The information all comes from family. No doubt, Carol. No doubt. I agree with that. Buster says Nancy would have been at the house by 9. Well, that's not when they said that they dropped her off. It was not 9 when they said they dropped her off. I'm just saying that's not the time that they gave by 9. When Tommaso Cioni dropped her off, it wasn't 9. They said it was like 9:40, 9:42, somewhere in there. Right. It does start with the story the family gives, but it starts with the person who started the narrative, which in this case is Annie. Annie started the narrative. Annie is the point of contact. Annie who is the one that the church people called. Annie is the one that called 911. Annie is the one that went to the house. Annie is the one that called Savannah. The point of contact was always Annie. Annie and Tommaso. Why and how would Kelly be involved? Yeah, I don't know that, Lady Cat. I have no clue. The only thing I would think was they were friends. They were friends, and he called her. She called him because he was a senator, a constituent, a senator, a friend in Arizona. I think that's why he called her. I don't think he called her to solve this mystery. I just don't think so. You know what I mean? He was there before because he was with Annie when they when they talked to Savannah. Okay, I never heard that. I never heard that Kelly was at the house with Annie. That's news to me. I just never heard of that. I'm not saying she wasn't or she was. I just never heard of that. That's news to me. She could have called Kelly other times, possibly. It involves politics. No one's saying it doesn't have politics to play in here. Buster, no one's saying that it doesn't have, that there's not politics involved in this. The question is the point of contact, what was stated and what was not stated. That's the question. What was stated and what was not stated. Who did it is really is what we're trying to figure out. But no, she had to call him admin the chaos. But no, she had to call him admin the chaos. I agree. I agree. Christina, cover up family involvement is my guest. I've started to think more on my third person of interest, which is Tommaso Cioni and possibly even Annie, as much as I hate to say that. But I'm starting to believe that that's really what it is. Give me 1 second. Hold on the fort, Gene. All right, I'm back. Do me a favor, click like and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, just makes you a devil pup in the channel. Okay, Christina, back to Christina. Cover up family involvement is my guest. Very good possibility. Buster, yes, Savannah made herself an accessory at the very least. Very possible, Buster. Very possible. Very possible. Christina, the reason someone calls another during chaos is to ask them for help. Well, you got to remember, Kelly dealt with this a similar tragedy with his wife, Gabby, when she was shot in the head. And they probably, and I know she interviewed Kelly quite a bit, so I know that there was possibly, some, how can I say, that kind of little bit of bond there. So maybe that is why she called, but not that Kelly could do anything. I mean, he's just a senator, puts on his pants just like everybody else. Tanya said inheritance, but that's going to take a while, Tanya, to get. I mean, from my understanding, it's going to take every bit of 2 to 3 years before they release anything, to my understanding, from what I've been hearing. So that's a long wait. Lady Cat, I think calling Kelly maybe to say, hey, I have a friend, could you find out for her? That's very possible. And I think something like that is very understandable and reasonable to think. In my opinion, I think. I don't think that's anything like bad. No one's accusing. We are all just speculating since we have very little information coming out. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Buster says Kelly said he talked to Nanos right away, but Nanos didn't know at least until 7 p.m. Okay. Lady Cat, what time did Kelly get notice from Savannah? Christine says, yes, Carol. The info all comes from the family. I mean, they are the first point of contact, no doubt. And the first family member who's the main person setting that whole narrative is literally Annie. Kelly said midterms Tucson time would have been 2 hours earlier. Kelly didn't call Nanos right away. Why? I don't know. I don't have that information, Buster. But if you get that, please share it with us. Gene says, or the Sam. Gene said, damn, my stuff disappeared. You're good, Gene. Buster, 2 hours earlier from Savannah. Right. Well, if she's on the East Coast, her seven's going to be, her 7 o'clock in the morning is going to be 5 o'clock in Arizona. Her 7 o'clock in the morning is going to be 5 o'clock in Arizona. They're 2 hours behind, not ahead. Gene says, so defines stream said that the last ransom note said Nancy was in Sonora. Correct. Correct. Sonora, Mexico. Well, Savannah's dad had unveiled unalived in Sonora. That is correct. When he worked there as a miner. Yes. And on the same day, her dad was unalived. That is correct. That is very correct. No senator, Buster says, no senator should be involved in investigation that long before the sheriff knows about it. Nanos found out when he saw an alert. Correct. Unalive, Gene says, unalive was the same date Nancy was gone, or they sent the ransom note. Correct. That is correct. Lady Cat says he's a senator. He probably has many things on his plate that he called after notification from Savannah. That yeah, I don't see like that really an issue, to be honest, in my opinion. Cameron was already at the house with Annie when they talked to Savannah. See, I didn't know that. I never heard anything about Cameron being there. Not that fast. Maybe he is. Maybe he was. I just didn't hear it. Maybe he was staying at the guest house. I don't know. There's a lot of information we just don't know because they haven't given us anything. We're all just trying to make sense of what we do know, and what was said, and why was the things that were said, to understand that better. You know what I mean? Yes, she did talk to Savannah. He did talk to Savannah, and Savannah asked him, "Do you think this is my fault?" And he said, "Sis, I I I I think it is. I think it's your fault. I think so, or something to that effect." Kelly thinks he's going to be president after Trump. Well, okay, now I get where you're going, Buster. But it doesn't matter what Kelly right now is just trying to figure out how the pieces fit and why were certain things said that literally didn't make sense. For example, I go back to when when Annie told Savannah that her mom was missing, and Savannah said, "Call the police," and she said, "I already did." When she called Savannah, it was 2 hours later. That's the big time difference. It was 2 hours later, not 2 hours behind time. 2 hours later. So this whole looking and the cops being there looking around and everything was 2 hours later, is what I gathered. 2 hours later, not 2 hours in time like from the East Coast to the Arizona Tucson time. So Annie already knew that they already checked to see if any hospitals had picked her up, or ambulances, or CAD, or even all that. She already knew that. My point is, when Savannah says, "I'm going to call the hospitals," Annie says, "Me too." Well, why in the hell are you going to call the hospitals? Why are you just not telling your sister, "Hey, they've already done that. They already called all the hospitals, and there was nobody had come by here to pick up mom"? Why not just say that? Why instead say, "I'm going to call the hospitals too"? Well, they just told you. No one picked her up. You follow where I'm going? It's almost like, and I hate to say this because I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I just think there's three very important people of interest, and it just happens to be Tommaso is the third one for me, person of interest. I think for me, the question becomes literally, why would you go ahead and just not tell her? They already had called the hospitals, and yeah, they never picked up mom. I'm not sure. Almost like everything was on the fly. Things were being said, things were being, for a better lack of words, was being just created at the moment. Was, I don't want to say made up because it sounds harsh, but was being created at the fly, on the fly. Does that make any sense? Christina, if they're not hiding her, then something went wrong in what happened that night with T and A, and they need to cover it up fast. Hello, Kelly. It's possible. It's possible. Everything's possible. And I'm not saying that's not possible, Christina, because that is possible. You know, I mean, yeah, it's possible. Hell, powder donuts are powder donuts until you open the box and you find out you got glaze instead of powder, right? I mean, it's possible. Could have got the wrong order. It's possible. No doubt about it. It's very possible. And I think that's all we're trying to do is trying to figure out why was certain things said and why weren't certain things not corrected when they had the opportunity to. You know what I mean? And that was before she flew out. That is correct, Carol. That is very correct. I mean, it's possible, Buster, but it's possible, but I don't know. Like, it's possible. I just leave it at that. It's possible. It's possible. I'm not sure what it has to play with the mom being missing. I don't know what it has to do with trying to find their mother. You know, I don't know what it has to do with that, but it's possible. Tanya, I found out some things yesterday that I shared with Dog, but I'll let him discuss them. If he doesn't, I'll tell you all. Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Tanya. Share it with everybody. I read it. I responded to you. So go ahead. Bring it to the table. Bring it to the table so that everybody can get an idea of what exactly, if you don't mind. Buster says he was one of the main ones who pushed to release those files. Well, I thought the main people that, I don't want to get this political, making this into a political thing, but I thought the main people that wanted those files were MAGA, the MAGA supporters, because they were promised they were going to get those files, and they never got them. Uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, was Trump's biggest supporter, and she went ahead and said she's the one that said, let's call this out there. Massey is another Republican that wanted those files released, along with another Democrat. There was actually, if I'm not mistaken, 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat that called for those files to be released. So I'm not sure um, that we can say Kelly pushed it. How did Kelly push it? To my understanding, it wasn't Kelly that was pushing it. It was Massey, Rokana. It was uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was Boebert. It was who's that other lady over there in Carolina, North Carolina? Is it Macy? I mean, those are all Republicans, so I'm not really sure. What do you mean? I don't. I've never. I mean, I do. Do I think that Kelly wanted to be released? Absolutely. I think a lot of people wanted it to be released. I just think a lot of people didn't have the guts on both sides of the party to go ahead and literally call it for what it was. It was an embarrassment. It was wrong. But I don't want to make this political. I want to stay focused with Nancy because then that's how we drift away from this. Christina says, I don't buy your enabling reasoning if Kelly is involved. But who knows? All theories are feasible and possible. I'm not saying Kelly's involved by no way, shape, or mean. I'm not saying Kelly's involved in the taking of Nancy Guthrie, and I'm definitely not saying that he is the reason why she got taken. Or I will even go as far as I'm not even saying that he even knows what the hell was going on with this whole issue of what seems to be the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. So yeah, I don't. I'm just trying to answer these questions as they're being given by Buster and others as to what makes anyone think Kelly had a role to play in other than Savannah called him? Maybe they were friends. I don't know. Savannah's a Democrat. They both live in Arizona. They used to. I'm sure she's seen him when she would visit her mom. She would see Kelly. I mean, you know what I mean? It all makes sense. I don't think they hate each other. So yeah, I'm just trying to answer the questions that Buster and others are proposing here. There was only one reason, by the way, okay? We need to know where Cameron was. Okay, fair. That's fair. I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, he's been the quiet one. He's the one that you haven't heard say anything about anything. Nothing. Zero. So yeah, you're right. It would be nice to hear a little bit about where he was at that moment. But they're not giving us that at all either. Buster says she called him because of the timing with the files. I mean, it's possible, but I don't. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. In my opinion, I don't think so, but it is possible. It is totally possible, no doubt. Buster says, right, Christine? Oh, Christine. Yeah, right? You agree that, it was all about the files. That's why they went ahead and she called Kelly. Her mom is kidnapped. Her mom is taken. Somebody took her mom. Someone took the mom, kidnapped her, and it was about the files. I can't make that correlation. I'm just telling you from a perspective from law enforcement. I cannot make that correlation. Nancy Guthrie was taken because of what? Me? The answer is because of money, ransom, and it went wrong. That's my take. Now, if you ask, you know, why did why did Savannah call Kelly? And you're going to say that she called Kelly because it was about the Epstein files. I don't know how the correlation is made there. That it's about the correlation. I mean, to me, it's all about Guthrie being gone. Does I mean, am I missing something? Somebody help me out here, because I so want to be on the same wavelength here. Soaring Energy, morning, all good morning. Soaring Energy, good morning. Does your LE background make you question the validity of the porch guy video? Meaning, could it have been made on purpose? Yes, it could have been. That could have been made on purpose. I mean, that could have been made purpose. But here's the thing: you have to really know what the hell you're doing when you're doing something like this, right? So you had they had to have known they had to do all their homework, and they had to have known she had a pacemaker, and they had to have known that she had to be treated delicately. Otherwise, it's very well she would have a heart attack and die. They had to have known that. Otherwise, they didn't do their homework well, which then tells me they're not very professional. I mean, maybe they're getting away with this right now because all the lines and the moons and the stars are all aligned together. It's possible. But yes, do I think that they could have set this up? It's possible. I guess what I'm going after, everybody, is I'm going after, remember what I told you before? It's that circle. It's the facts that are in front of you. It's that, it's the all that information in front of you. That's what I'm looking at. If I get distracted and start looking out here and I don't focus here first, everything out here makes no bit of sense to me. Nothing. Zero. Makes no sense. Not when the material in front of you is literally telling you a story. You just have to figure it out how it unfolds. I don't know if that makes any sense to you all, but that was what makes sense to me. So for me, I want to resolve this in front of us, and then if we can't go ahead and figure out why and how come, then you start expanding outward and start looking literally way outside the box to see if you can bring something to make it all make sense. Just my opinion. They bought a $650,000 house last year. And at the time, they are late on property tax payments. That is correct. That is correct. Lady Cat, Marjorie Taylor Greene. What about her, Lady Cat? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Kim, uh, Kimmy, thank you. I was just about to say that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kimmy. Good morning. I'm glad to have you guys here. If you guys are not subscribers, subscribe for free. It ain't always going to be free. It's free right now. Subscribe for free. Be a part of this channel. Be a part of the family. Don't forget to click likes. Do me that favor. Click the like button. In here, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a thought. We may not always agree on everything that we say to one another, but you know what? Your opinion is still valid. Your points are valid. It's just we may not always see the same exact thing. Buster, the family is entirely The family is extremely politely. Politics can be ignored. That's who they are. I got you. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I agree with that comment. Deb's in the house. How you doing, Deb? Good to have you. Glad you're here. Join in. Jump right in. Buster says, extremely political. Yes. Seems that's all that's going around in this world is extremely politics in everybody's lives, you know? Think ploy. Lady Cat said, think ploy to get Nancy over to talk to her paying for taxes. She said no, and tempers flared. That's very possible, Lady Cat. I mean, a lot of people have suggested that she probably never made it home, okay? That she probably never made it home. I mean, we don't even know if she did because there's no cameras showing TC pulling into the driveway with the headlights on or leaving with the taillights on. There's no still picture, there's no video. But yeah, we got cars that are passing by down the street that they were able to pull still shots and video shots from the cars. We have a picture they were able to extract, okay, from the camera in the front door of Nancy's house. They were able to do all these things that come up with all these pictures, but they're not able to show you a picture of TC pulling in, dropping off Nancy, the garage door closes, and they don't show you a picture of him leaving. I don't know how that happens. I don't know how in the hell that happens. Something doesn't make sense there. Tanya, their income doesn't add up to afford such a expensive house. Was Nancy their cash cow? Very well could have been. It sounds like it. I thought I had read something where she had given them 200 or loaned them or given them $225,000 to put down on that house that they got. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. And she probably did get sick of it. No doubt. I could see that. I could see them saying that wholeheartedly, Tanya. Live within your means. Quit trying to be like your sister. Quit trying to live out of your means. Absolutely. Any parent, any parent with their salt would say that to their kids when they're trying to live outside their means. No doubt about it. Buster says, but no one wants to go there. I think you have some good points, Buster. I mean, I can see why you're saying that, but I'm not sure that I necessarily would subscribe to it. But I can understand. Patricia's in the house. I don't think he has a role in it. You know, there you go too. Then Patricia's saying she doesn't think that he has any role in it. And who are we talking about, Patricia? Is it TC that doesn't have a role in it, or is it Kelly that doesn't have a role in it? Because we've been covering so many different people. Guys, if I lose you, I'm going into an area that is very shitty with Wi-Fi. So if I lose you, I'm going to come right back in. I just have to go ahead and get the hell out of this area. All right, just letting you all know. Just know that. Deb says I agree. Tanya says pissed. Patricia says nah. Laddie Cat says just because he knows Savannah doesn't mean he is involved. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I don't think he has anything to do with it, if you want to know my honest opinion. But, in due respect, I give everybody their voice, I mean, it's what it's all about, right? I'm not making the connection with the files. She needed help with whatever went down badly that night. That's why she called him. Yes, I could see that. That makes sense, Christine. That makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm talking perfectly sense. No doubt about it. I asked earlier but was skipped over. Sorry. Did Savannah tell Hoda during their TV chat about the back doors being propped open and not being pulled out of her bed? Yes, I believe so. I'm almost positive she did. You know, because she also had said that that she was taken without her shoes. She didn't even have her shoes. She was said that she was taken from her bed without her shoes, and that, yeah, that Annie had told her that the back doors were open. Yes. To answer your question, Christine, yes, she did say that. Soaring Energy says everything in front of me says it's Annie and Tommaso. Very simple. I mean, I'm starting to look at things a little different, but they still in my top three, and no doubt about it. How do you, when you start breaking things apart? And like I said, I'm listening to a lot of other people in my line of work, detectives and profilers and whatnot, and it's making sense to me because a lot of the stuff they're saying is what I've been thinking and what I've been saying, and then some things I haven't even thought of that are really starting to make sense. Give me a second. I'm back. Let's see where we're at now. Click that like, everybody. Click that like and subscribe. Do me that favor. I think you guys have been amazing. Literally. Lady Cat, one of the three to push for the files to come out. One of the three to push for files to come out. I'm not sure I really understand that, Lady Cat. Can you break it down a little bit more for me, please? Tanya, I have to go back and watch the video, Christine. Buster, the whole family is involved, yes. Well, yeah, they're definitely involved because their mom was taken. That makes them all involved to a certain extent, no doubt about it. Do you think the family already knows where Nancy is, or that she had, or that she was recovered already, etc.? Can death records be sealed? Do you know? I don't think they have her personally. I really don't, honestly. I don't think they have her, and I don't think. I mean, they could do it if they thought that her life was in jeopardy. You know, they could probably cover a little bit up for a little bit of time to try to catch the perps. But I'm not sure that's even in play right now, to be honest. But it's possible. It is very possible. I don't think death records can be sealed unless it's to protect a person who is still alive. You know, kind of like almost like a safe house, putting somebody in a safe house so that no one thinks that they're still around. Tanya says, my older sister was jealous of me. If I bought a new car, up she'd have to one up me. We've all had siblings like that. No doubt. No doubt. I get it. I get it. Give me 1 sec. All right. All right. All right. All right, I'm here, buddy. I'm here. Savannah messed with a lot of people's money, yet the family's money kept going up, up. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how their financial status is other than Savannah net worth is something like 40 million. I know she just signed a contract with CBS, the Today Show. Um, I had heard that Cameron was like 2.1 million net worth, and Nancy and Annie and Tommaso were just like average Joe. I know she told Hoda that, but is that where we heard it first? Well, in reference to the shoes, that was where she had no shoes and taken out of her bed. That that we heard first. Um, as far as the idea of oh God, I'm thinking here. As far as the idea of literally of the shoes, we heard it because she confirmed. She actually said it, and we had no idea that she didn't. They didn't take her shoes. We also didn't know that the back doors were open, to my understanding, until Savannah had that uh, um, interview with Hoda where she said that Annie had called her and told her that the back doors were open, uh, uh, and that. Now, I don't think Annie told her anything about the shoes. That she was taken out of her bed without her shoes. That part I have no clue because I never heard Annie say anything about that. But I know Savannah did. The whole family is involved. It could have been A and T too. They're not off the hook in my. Oh, I agree with you, Buster. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Tanya, I believe so. I believe so, Christine. There you go. Tanya, I've watched so much stuff that it's all running together. No doubt, Tanya. I know the feeling. Soaring energy. The reason Savannah said Nancy had no shoes and straight out her bed was apparently because Nancy's sheets and her bed were gone, and it's thought that they wrapped Nancy up in the sheets and took her. That is correct. You're right there, Soaring Energy. Buster says yes, Christine. She is trying to control the narrative. Savannah wasn't even there. Lady Cat, yes. You asked why I said Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, said she was one of the three pushing for the files to come up. Absolutely. Absolutely, she was. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lady Cat. Paige says, I'm in the waiting room using my new first time ever earbuds. All right. Great to have you back, Paige. Christine, if that info was told to Hoda first, then that was reason for the TV chat, to add to the narrative to make it look more like a real kidnapping. I smell family involvement all the way around. Very possible, Christine. Very possible. Let me grab something, everybody. Very possible. All right, everybody. Hit that like, smash that like button if you can for me. I appreciate it. Let me get out my bifocals. Very interesting chat, no doubt. Lady Cat, think A&T underlive Nancy and had Luke, Kayla, Lopez, and Kiki get rid of the body. They had connections. Yeah, that's very, very probable, Lady Cat, because Kiki and her photographer are definitely my fourth combination, and they all seem to know each other in some way, shape, or form. They've all either been in the same clubs, rub elbows, or even just know each other. You know, so yeah, I would say that's a very good that's a very good theory, no doubt about it. I agree with that. Good theory. Buster says Mark Kelly was too. He thinks he's going to be president. So he barked about the files from the rooftops. Yeah, I just didn't hear a lot about it. I followed a lot of this stuff, and I do follow this stuff, and I just never seen anything. Now, do I think that he wanted him out? Absolutely. Do I think he probably said, "Hey, I'm going to vote for him to release"? Absolutely. But I don't think he wasn't the spearhead. The spearhead was Maxie and Rokana. Maxie from Kentucky and Rokana from California. They were the spearheads. And then the rest, Rokana's a Democrat and Massey is a Republican. And then the others that were involved were, like I said, Macy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. There was another one. I just can't think of the name. But so there was like six total. And that's what they got. And that's how they were able to force the files to be released. Jeannie, dog, I will message you as to what I'm trying to convey. The stream isn't letting me type it out. Problem, just go ahead and message me. I'll read it as soon as possible, and then I'll get back with you. Thank you so much. Jean says, it's pretty interesting. Sounds good, no doubt. The materials you sent me that I looked at literally were very, very enlightening. And thank you for that. Paige, I think the stream just glitched a little bit, but fine for now. Okay, good, because I'm not seeing anything just yet, but yeah, we know how that goes. For some reason we glitch out, don't worry, I'll be right back. I'll come right back in. I just got to get out of the area that I'm in. Andy went, Buster says, Andy went from cheaper house to 850,000 house. That's true. 650 maybe, but yeah, a lot more. I guess is the way to put it. And it could have been very, very well that Nancy gave them the money so that they could get a house and she wouldn't have to move out of her house and they could stay close to them. You know what I mean? That could have been an incentive for Nancy to say, I can stay in my house if I help them with their house, then that means they could go ahead and they'll be close, so therefore I don't have to leave. You know what I mean? That's a possibility. Lisa, thank you, Jess. Gene, yes, Lisa, it's been, I can't type. I have an interesting point. It won't let me type it. That's crazy. That is very crazy. Dear Gene, Buster says it or the husband and Cameron. Just some thought. Very true. Very true. Because at this point, I'm not ruling anybody out. I'm not ruling any family member out. Don't care what Sheriff Numbnuts Dano says. I'm not ruling anybody out. Not the family. You can't. There's just too much unknown. You know. I didn't watch the Hoda interview, so I never heard about the door. So my guess is yes. Savannah told Hoda first. Yes. Yes, that is true. Give me a sec. Okay, let's see. I didn't watch the Hoda Lisa, which is strange. It is. Gene, I even seen a post that the sheriff's office has some folks saying that the narrative has been twisted, basically. I mean, that's what happens when you don't give people any information. And I'm not saying give people, the things that we all want, we're not going to get. Let's just be frank and honest. We want to know who did it, who was involved, where did they take her, and why. Who, what, when, where, why. We're not going to get none of that because that's a big part of the case. They're not going to give you that information. So there's nothing that they're going to be able to give us, in all honesty, that's going to make us say, at least they gave us, what we're wanting. However, they could give us stuff, literally, that would at least make us feel like they are following up on some leads, you know? And that goes a long way. Because when you lose confidence in the people that are there to protect you, when you lose confidence in, they lose confidence in you, you're done. You're done. They will go through every extreme to get rid of you, just like they're doing with nanos. Okay, so I mean, they have to feel that their interest is your interest. That's how it's supposed to work in law enforcement. There is things that they cannot say, and I don't expect them to ever say. You don't hear me ever say like, I want this, or we need to know this. We can't. We can't. It's just it's the case. It's what the case is around. But what we can say is, tell us that you checked, LD. Tell us that you've checked, Anthony or Anthony, or tell us that you've checked these people. Tell us that you've checked these people that we have concerns about. You know, tell us that you've looked into people and you have literally cleared them. But tell us how you cleared them. Don't just say they're cleared. That doesn't fly. Not for the people that really understand what the hell's really going on. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of things they could give the people so that the people could at least see that they're doing their work and they're doing the best they can do because the interests of the citizens are at their, that's their behest, right? But when you don't give nothing out and you're making people think outside and make all these crazy theories and because they don't know what else to do, then yes, you're going to get people to lose confidence in you real quick. And that's pretty much what's happened. No doubt about it. Yeah, the sheets were on. It's been restricted by some folks in the sheriff's office. Yep, I agree. Hit that like, everybody. Come on, hit that like. Hit that like. Doesn't cost you anything to hit that like. Subscribe for free. Let's build this channel. This is our channel. Become a double pup. Buster Brown says, Luke and Derek, in my opinion, very possible. Very possible. I mean, LD is my number one person of interest. No doubt about it. You know, and they just can't. I just can't get that out of my head because of all the, what do we always say, coincidence that seem to happen all in one night with everybody that's involved, with everybody that's been mentioned in this case, with everybody that literally has looked at this case. We have more coincidence in this case to last us lifetimes. I don't buy coincidence. I just don't buy it. You know, one, maybe. As many as we've gotten, hell no, I don't buy that. That's ridiculous. That's like saying I'm going to put my head in the sand and just hope for the best because you know no, I can't do that. But that's a good one there, Buster. Soaring energy. I think because of the unexpected call from the church, Lady Nancy had to be out somewhere temporarily, and they had to do they had to move her and dispose of her because once the police, yes, the police came on Sunday. That is true. That is very true. Once the police came on Sunday, Tommaso and Annie wouldn't be able to be involved in disposing of her. Very true. Very possible. When they did the raid at Luke's house, did you hear the early reports of one person had unalived themselves? Even an influencer named Dolly came up upon that scene. Well, it was later found out that Luke's brother was the one who tried to unalive himself and that he was still in the hospital as of 3 weeks ago, according to Alex and Criminal Networks. Yeah, no, I didn't hear about that, to be honest. I did not hear about that. That is news to me. Thank you for that information, my friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate that big time. That is very news to me. I had no idea. Lady Cat, the ransom who do you who do you think the ransom note? Got my theory but can't verify my info. I honestly at this point I really just don't know. I don't know who the person is trying to literally claim this, if you will. I'm not sure. I'm really not. Um, yeah, I really don't know, to be honest with you, Lady Cat. I mean it. I don't know. I let me do some research on that because I really truly honestly I'd be just taking a stab at it, and I don't like doing that. So I'll definitely look into that for sure. Send me what you got. Send me what you got. Let me know. Send me an email. Buster says all they need is the ransom letter to present for inheritance with no questions asked. Well, I think that there's also a time limit for literally before the insurance pays out, there has to be a time limit. I've heard that from several sources. So I'm not sure, like what the specifications are or what they aren't. I just know that there is a time limit. They're going to have to wait. And I thought it was like 2 years, 3 years. I got you. No, that's understandable. That is understandable, Lady Cat. Very understandable. Like I said, shoot me an email. Let me know. Jeannie Smith, new to the channel. Welcome, Jeannie Smith. Thank you so much for being here. Are you live in Tucson? No, I am not in Tucson. I am in Ohio. And would you consider setting your streams to landscape mode? I will consider that. Yes, I will consider that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, Jeannie. Paige says soaring energy. Soaring energy. Oh my God, yes, I do remember that now on that. It's very suspicious. Buster says, careful what those streamers say. Are spreading false information. Yeah, you got to take a lot with a grain of salt, everybody. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. Man, I'll be honest, you got to take everything what I tell you. But I'm going to tell you, everything that I give you, everything that I tell you is from my experience in law enforcement for all my years in investigating and doing cases. Okay, hey, been there, done that. So for me, it's you're going to get from a perspective of law enforcement. I'm trying to get you to see what my eyes are seeing through my lens. That's what I'm trying to do. But I think you all know that by now. Lisa Page, the unalive streamer. The unalive streamer. Oh, Lord. The unalive streamer. Fill me in on the unalive streamer. You got to fill me in on that one. Because now you got me curious. The unalive streamer. Interesting. The unalive streamer. Who's the unalive streamer? Let me know, Lisa. I'm curious now. Song Energy. Buster Dolly was on live when he came upon the scene of a guy that had unalived himself or tried to. I'm sorry, tried to unalive himself. Dolly, yes, I remember I was listening to DGL, Doggone Live. Soren, just as a note, Luke's brother name is Matthew. Thank you, Soren. Appreciate you. Lisa never mentioned again. That's interesting. It happened while cops had LD pulled over at Culliver's. Maybe there was a sense of guilt there, right? Right? Maybe there was a sense of guilt. Still here, everybody. Another coincidence. I swear we live on coincidence, don't we? It's like everything in this case is a coincidence. Everything. And I do mean everything's a coincidence. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. This is crazy. Hang on a second. All right, let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at. All right, all right. Give me 1 second. All right, everybody, hang on. Sorry. There you go, man. Yeah, see that right here? Just so you know. I got you. That's why. You have a good one, man. All righty. So, here we are. Okay. Another coincidence. Jeannie Smith, awesome. So glad, so glad. Thank you. When I asked about the sealing of the death records, I didn't mean if Nancy was still alive. I meant if she was deceased and they found out and found her, could they keep death certificates sealed? I don't think so. I mean, I guess anymore. I mean, it's like anything seems to be, anything seems to be, you can literally, anything could be possible. So, yeah, anything could be possible. No doubt about it. And that's the thing. Anymore, I mean, legally, it never used to be like that. In today's world that we live in, Jesus, it's almost like you can do whatever in the hell you want to do. I know it sounds crazy, but really, you can pretty much do whatever until someone challenges it, you know? Yes, landscape view. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can do that like right now. Let me see. Let me check. Oh, gotta figure how to do this. Yeah, yeah. Maybe this one. Nope. Maybe this one. No. I'm looking here. Give me a second. See if I can. If I am able to do this. No. No. Honestly, the only way I think I'm going to be able to do this. Let's see. Yeah, the only way I'm going to have to do this is from the beginning, everybody. So I'll do it next time. I promise. Yeah, I can't. I can't. It shouldn't be that hard, but yeah. How about now? How does it look now? Can you guys hear me? Okay, good, good. Thank you, CR. Appreciate you. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Christine. Appreciate you. Don't forget, if you like the channel, subscribe and hit like. Be a member. Be a literally devil pup to this devil dog underscore 88 channel. Good, good. Thank you. I'm so sorry about that, guys. Just I was messing with things, trying to go ahead and configure this to make it a landscaping, and I must have hit some buttons, and then it just went all to shit. So my bad. I'm going to be pulling up here. I'm going to be pulling up here to get some gas. So just give me a second. We should be okay. Shouldn't have any issues. But I got to get some gas because I'm about empty, literally. So just bear with me. Never like getting gas because it's so damn expensive. It's like ridiculous. Oh, man, that's out there. All right, guys, I want to get some gas. Just give me a minute. If you guys can hold on to Ford, I appreciate it. All right, all right. There we go. Uh, all right, everybody. D. Tanya, is live over because I can't get in? You should be good now. You should be good now. Live is not over. Live is not over. You guys, can you hear me? Just had to get some fuel. There you go. Rah, rah. There you go. Good to have you back, Tanya. Sorry about that. Had to get some fuel, and you know how that goes. Everything went to shit. Good deal. Good deal. Glad you guys are back. All right. All right. So that's pretty much, I mean, there's a lot out there, guys. There's a lot out there, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot out there. It's just a matter of trying to get and trying to fit the pieces in the puzzle, you know? Sometimes it's so difficult, you know, because you're only getting so much, and then you're trying to go ahead and do the best you can, and sometimes the best is not good enough. Go ahead, Christina. What's going on? What do you take? What's your take? You said you skipped me. I didn't mean to, Christina. Christina, I did not mean to skip you. Oh, it's funny. Tanya says, my damn doctor's giving me nuts. They all want a piece of me with tests. Better be safe than sorry there, Tanya. Better be safe than sorry. Where you at, Christine? Let's see if I can pull you up here. While while watching us lately, it's just like nothing has happened. It's all taken care of. Nothing to see here. No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, Christine. I get it. I just read you. I get it. You got it. I don't know what's going on, guys, but this thing has been acting very finicky. Like I'm not nowhere near a dead zones or anything, but it's like I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just damn crazy. You got it. No, I read what you said. Yes, and man, I tell you what, this thing is like it's like crazy. That's all I can tell you. It's crazy. I'm just like it just like turns off. It just turns off. That's never done that before. Oh, God, just hang on, Tanya. Hang on. Just we can if we can hear each other, that'd be good. That'd be good. I don't know why it's doing that, to be honest, because I'm not in anywhere in anywhere where there should be any type of issues right now. But you got it. There you go. Hope is getting better. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for that, Christina. I appreciate you. Thank you. So Yeah, that's one of the things, so watching some of these videos, hearing some of these things on what was going on, it was very interesting. I mean, very interesting. Um, I wish I could pull it up on my phone as to who that individual was, but it was a really good. It was just a good. It wasn't the case files. I want to see if I can pull it up here. Just give me a sec. I want to see if I can pull it up here. I want to see if I can pull it up here. Give me a second. Definitely made perfect sense. Yeah, guys, I think the phone was getting hot. I think the phone was getting hot. That's what I think was happening. The phone is getting hot. I put it by the air condition, so that should get it nice and hopefully, I can't explain why it's doing what it's doing. Somebody must have put a hex on me or something. So the conclusion from today is that you guys got to see news. I think it's the news desk is what it's called, or the news files, guys. And I hate to even mess with this damn thing because it'll get all stupid on me. But basically, they were talking about how why did it take 2 hours for Andy to call Savannah, because the realistic thing is that it made it seem like she called right away when in fact it wasn't until 2 hours later. Well, they already knew that no ambulance had picked up their mom. She already knew that. Annie already knew that. So when Savannah tells her, I'm going to go ahead and call mom, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, everybody. I'm going to have to, because it seems like it's starting to get really bad. All right, in there, everybody. Please, I like it's like I'm losing beat. Is that slow? I understand. I may have power now. power back up. I don't know. There's nothing here. All right. All right, everybody. Hello, hello. Don't leave just yet. I just got back. I don't know how long it's going to do or if it's going to screw up or what. Hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Yes, I am back. Sorry about that. It's just I had to